Hello. Happy Wednesday or whatever day it is. Happy day or night, like it is here. Welcome to Meditation Breaks. This channel is all about learning meditation, and I am your meditation teacher here on this channel. My name is Keith. So if this is your first time, welcome. And if you're coming back, welcome back. Thanks for all the support. You guys are the best. So for the next couple of weeks, and I have in between now and the new year, I'm going to do, I think, 3 more classes just because I'm traveling a lot for the holidays. And all of these classes that we're going to be doing are geared towards this kind of topic, compassion, gratitude. Alex, hey, what's up, man? Like acts of kindness, giving, right? It's very thematic, for the holidays, at least here in the States. So I like to do these classes together. All right. Hey, Georgette, welcome. So don't worry if you miss one. It's not like you need to be here to get something out of the next one. Doesn't matter. But I'm going to theme them all around this idea of kindness, because I think it is a great topic. It is thematic, and it is one of my favorite to teach, and I think it's really impactful. So hopefully you will agree. So that is what we're going to be doing for our topic today. But of course, if you are brand new and you've never meditated before, you're like, whoa, slow down. I don't even know how to meditate. So we will, as we always do, start with a introduction to meditation. Even for those that have been coming, it's good, drill it into your head. That's kind of how it works, right? It's practice. So we'll start with an introduction to, what is this meditation thing that is, becoming increasingly popular. And then we're going to do a short meditation together. It'll be very straightforward, breathing meditation. You probably heard of that. Won't be more than 5 minutes or something like that. So don't worry, you're not going to be sitting there, ruminating in your own mind for that long. And then after that, we're going to get into our topic. And kicking off our little kind of theme on kindness for the next couple of weeks is today's topic is all about instincts of kindness. That's what I like to call it, your natural instincts that you have to do something kind. And we'll talk about what that means, and we'll talk about how we can maybe start to help those things come out a little bit more. Right? Cool. Zach, I'm doing great. How are you doing? All right. So, meditation. What is it? Of course, we all know it is sitting on the floor like this, right? This sitting on the floor cross-legged with our eyes closed is a very typical kind of visual of meditation. It is a way to meditate. You can meditate sitting on the floor if you'd like. But it is not required for you to sit on the floor with your eyes closed in some sort of position with your hands or whatnot to meditate. So if that's not the definition of what meditation is, then what is the definition of meditation? So I want you to think of meditation as a technique that you can use to train your mind in something. Hey, Rob. Right? So it's pretty vague definition, but that's because you can do a lot with meditation. But the key is we're training our mind to become familiar with something. And this word, familiarity, is it's essentially synonymous with meditation, right? And we may not think a lot about this idea of familiarizing ourselves with things, but we obviously do it all day long, right? My nephew is just learning to walk. Just the other day, it was 2 days ago. Saw him take a couple little steps there, right? And everyone's super proud of him, right? But it wasn't very graceful. I'll tell you that much. I hopefully he doesn't watch this. I'm not trying to insult him, but he's just learning, right? So it's not this very easy thing to do, right? Whereas you and I, we've been walking for quite some time, and yeah, we've kind of polished the technique a little bit. We can walk pretty good. We can walk without thinking about it. It comes pretty naturally to us, right? So just like my nephew, we were all like that at one point. And so what happened? What did we do to become so proficient at walking? Bipedal motion. So it's practice. It's not a revolutionary concept. We practiced, right? We became familiar with how to do it. We familiarized our body, right? Our legs and whatnot, but also our mind. Oh, I got to put this foot in front of, and then I do that foot, right? I don't really remember what I was thinking, but it's all a exercise, an example in familiarity. And this is one example, and there are countless, right? Riding a bike, classic example, like anything, putting in contacts, that took me a while, right? Anything that you have learned to the point of its, you don't have to think that much about doing it. You could say you're very familiar with it, right? Now, the examples we've been using are physical, because that's usually what we think about. But mental familiarity operates exactly the same way, right? So take something like being relaxed. That's usually why people get into meditation in the first place. Great reason. So is meditation relaxing you? Inherently, no. Like meditation it's not like if I meditate, I'll be relaxed, right? So meditation is teaching you to become really familiar with your relaxed self. Each and every one of you, even though you may be thinking, I don't know, we all have a version of us that is very relaxed, like calm. If we're honest with ourselves, even though it might not show up that much, it's there. It's happened, right? Of course. What we're doing with meditation in terms of increasing how, relaxing, so to speak, is we're becoming so familiar with this version of ourselves, right? Connecting with relaxed us, that what happens? What would happen if we became so familiar with our relaxed self, like as familiar with our relaxed self as we are with walking? The same thing as walking, right? It starts to become second nature. We don't have to put as much effort into it. It starts to become our default. We can just kind of do it, right? So this is the cool thing about meditation, this technique, is because there are really no limits to what you can do with it, because it's just a learning tool. So we might initially get into meditation for relaxing, but maybe then we start to realize, whoa, I can apply these things to other parts of my life, right? And we're going to talk about like kindness and recognizing kindness a lot in the next coming weeks and tonight. And that's another thing we can use meditation to become more familiar with it. Why? So we don't have to try as hard to be kind, right? Sometimes we got to try hard right now, right? So this is how I want you to think about meditation, right? Familiarity, that's the word. So how do we do this? It sounds great, but how do we go about and start training in this technique? So if you have tried meditation before, it is probable that you've tried breathing meditation. It's usually the entry point, and for very good reason. A lot of good reasons. I think personally, the most important reason why your breath is really important to start to connect with is that it teaches you an extremely important element of meditation, and that is that you don't need specific things to do it, right? You don't need to go to a beach, a private beach with the water, lapping up on the shore. That would be amazing, right? And probably pretty peaceful. But you don't need to do that. We don't need to leave our friends behind, or quit our job and like go on a retreat or something. We don't need to do any of that, right? We just need our breath and a little bit of patience to practice. So, breathing meditation is a great entry point. And then from there, if you've been coming here a while, you'll notice we don't just do breathing meditation. We'll do things like contemplation, which we're focusing instead of on our breath on like an idea or a concept. And all of this is meditation, right? And regardless of what type of meditation you're doing, it follows the same 3 principles, right? So I'm going to speak in terms of breathing meditation, since that's what we're going to do in a little bit. But these 3 kind of steps are the same no matter what. Step 1. We have to choose to focus on something, right? So this is called single-pointed concentration. That's another way of referencing meditation. We're focusing on one thing. Easier said than done. We got to choose to do that. Now, I know that sounds a little unnecessary, maybe, or corny or whatever, but it's important because sometimes we accidentally have a meditative experience, right? Maybe we're like in the zone working at something at work, right? We lose track of time. We don't hear noises in the office. It's as if because we're so focused, like all the other stuff is like fading away, which is essentially what we're going to do here with meditation and all the busyness in our mind. But we want to start to teach ourselves that we can do this. We can initiate this, right? It doesn't have to just be whenever our mind happens to care to do this. So, hey, Beverly, how you doing? Been a while. So that's the first step. And don't worry too much about that. We're just kind of making a little promise to yourself. For the next couple minutes, while Keith's talking, I'm going to focus entirely on my breath. Done, right? You're setting your attention there. Right? So then step 2 is, with that attention set, we're going to focus on our breath. And whenever you notice that your mind is starting to drift a little bit, right? It doesn't have to be completely like, gone into tomorrow, but like, you're thinking about what do you have to do for work, or I don't know, something that happened earlier, whatever, our mind thinks about tons of things. Whenever we notice that happening, what we're going to just say internally or externally, if you want, not right now. That's our little saying here, not right now. Right? So we're not labeling these thoughts as bad, wrong, unimportant. They are important. They are fine, right? They're thoughts, and we can think them, but not right now. We're teaching our mind that we're kind of in the driver's seat here, right? Which is a bit of a change from how we allow our mind to operate on a daily basis, right? Our mind just kind of thinks. Right? So we're going to not right now it. And then after we not right now it, we're going to just purposefully guide our attention back to our breath, right? So it's a little loop. You can think of it as like a little cycle. And the goal is not to never get distracted. That would be lovely, but that is like a very difficult thing to do. I've been meditating 16 years, and I get distracted. Your mind will do that. That the goal is not to eliminate distraction, but to become better at noticing when you are, and then choosing to do something about it. Right? So that's what we're going to practice with breathing meditation. And we're going to do that right now. And like I said, it's not going to be very long, probably about 5 minutes or so. And I will be guiding, I will be speaking throughout this, I'll be guiding the meditation. So don't worry, it won't be like silence or anything, maybe for a little. But the first thing that I would recommend before we get started is to get comfortable. And you do not need to sit on the floor. You'll notice I'm in a chair. You too can be in a chair. You can lay down. I don't know. Got a hammock? Oh, man. That'd be great. I love hammocks. The point is that you can do this however in whatever seating position you want, which is Good, because if you had to sit on the floor, I don't know about you, but my back hurts. So I don't think I'd be doing this that much. So get comfy and go ahead and close your eyes. This will help just eliminate some visual distractions. And I'm going to guide us through about a 5-minute breathing meditation. Okay. Whenever we start a meditation, take a moment and check in with yourself. Actually ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? In this exact moment. Maybe you're feeling tired. It's been a long day. Maybe you're feeling energetic, happy, melancholy, whatever it is, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're noticing is fine. It's perfect. We're not doing anything about it. We're just practicing noticing. This is a technique called mindfulness, and we'll be talking more about that today. So take a moment and check in. Having done that, you can now make a choice. We're going to set an intention, and that intention is to focus single-pointedly, exclusively on your own breath. Breathing in, breathing out, very gently and very naturally. As you're breathing and focusing on your breath, don't worry about how you're breathing. Whatever comes naturally to you is perfect. You don't have to breathe in a specific way or forcefully exhale air. Everything here is just very natural, very personal. Breathing in, breathing out, gently, naturally. At some point, you'll notice your mind wandering. That's what our minds do. They think. When you catch your mind no longer fully, exclusively focused on your breath, whether it's thinking about something that happened earlier or planning for later, we can just say not right now to those thoughts. Actually imagine yourself placing them aside. We're not throwing them out. We're just putting them aside momentarily. And with those thoughts cast aside, bring your attention back to breathing in and breathing out very gently and very naturally. We're single-pointedly focused on each moment of each breath. How many moments make up a single breath? Can we follow the journey of the air? Can we watch the air, imagine it, visualize it, entering our body when we breathe in. Can we feel our chest expanding? And what about when you exhale? Can you follow that same air as it exits your body? Can you watch it as it dissipates into the atmosphere? A moment-to-moment interest in breathing in and breathing out very gently, very naturally. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath whenever you notice it drifting. This process of choosing to focus single pointedly on your own breath, noticing when your attention drifts a bit, and then guiding your attention back to your breath. That is meditation. You are meditating right now. You're training your mind to access its natural, peaceful state. You're training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. And right now, the only thing you want to focus on is breathing in, breathing out, very gently and very naturally. So just for the last few moments, just relax, enjoy sitting here, take some time for yourself. You deserve it. Okay, whenever you're ready, at your own pace, you can open your eyes. Hi. So that's breathing meditation. And there's a lot of different styles. This is like pretty bare bones. It's just focusing on your old breath there. So the main thing that if you're new, what I would want you to remember here is two things. One, meditation is about familiarizing yourself with something, right? And in this case, we're familiarizing ourselves with focusing on one thing. So that's one. Two, we are not trying to do perfection here. Do not get upset if your mind gets distracted. Don't think I'm not good at this, or I'm not doing it right. You are doing it right. You are good at this, right? The practice is noticing when your attention drifts and bringing it back. That's it, right? So getting distracted helps us practice, right? So those are important things, and they're not the easiest to get over. We want to do this right. We want this thing to work fast, right? But it is a bit of a practice. It's kind of a slow burn, but it's worth sticking with. At least in my opinion. Cool. Okay. So that's breathing meditation. And I'm going to move on to our topic for today. And I said it earlier, but a couple more people have come in. So um, this class, next week's class, and I think I have one more before the end of the year because I'm doing a lot of traveling. They're all geared towards kindness, gratitude, giving, all nice things. Yeah. And so we're going to look at a couple of different themes within that theme. And today's theme within the theme is recognizing and nurturing what I'll call like your instinct of kindness. I don't know what else to call it. So that's what I'm calling it. And this is, each one of us has an instinct to do good, to help, right? And it's happening all the time for all of us. And like that, the problem isn't the opportunities, right? It's noticing them. So we're going to talk about that, right? And the kind of I think it's a necessary thing to think about before we even get there is this idea of how actions form, right? Because if we're talking about like doing a good thing for somebody, Alex, enjoy your sleep. Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you, my friend. So if we're talking about like doing a good thing, generally we're thinking about like an action, right? Calling a friend, you haven't spoken to them in a while, right? Or maybe you see somebody, you're walking in, a big city, you see somebody who is asking for, help or resources, and you give them some help or resources, or give your friend a hug if they're upset, right? These are actions, right? Physical actions, right? We're doing something. There are other actions, and I'm going to call them mental actions. And I know that some people are like, oh, here we go, T's and P's. So mental actions, not T's and P's, okay? What we want to think about with mental actions is how they are a necessary prerequisite into these physical actions, right? So let's take the example of calling a friend, right? So I don't know, you're doing something, you're eating I was going to say pie. I don't know why. You're eating pie. It's delicious, right? And then out of nowhere, seemingly, you kind of have this, I should call my friend, whatever your friend's name is, right? It just like pops into your mind, right? You weren't like, who should I call? It just happened, right? So this is a mental action, right? Your mind is like call, essentially, right? Now, if there was no mental action, could you call? No. In fact, mental actions are a prerequisite for everything we do, right? Walking, talking, whatever, cooking, right? Like we have to we want to say something to somebody. It's happening so fast that we don't notice it, but our mind is like, say this thing to them, right? Say these words, all right, in this way, right? It's happening really fast. But there's a mental component for all physical output. Cool? And this is important because we often do not associate mental actions with doing good, right? We associate them with empty. It's like, it's like a nothing, right? But without mental actions, physical actions can't happen. And if we don't notice the mental actions, right, and we're not used to acting on them because we're kind of just lost in our own thing and we're not paying attention to them, we're then missing all of these awesome opportunities to do good. So this is just, I think this is, it is kind of at the core of what we're going to be talking about today and in the next couple of weeks, is how do we cultivate, nurture, encourage mental actions and noticing them to turn them into these like awesome physical actions. Cool. Okay. Great. So this instinct of kindness phrase, what is that? Right. It is a mental action. Right? It is a spontaneous mental thought of doing something kind or good or helpful. Right? We could just leave it at that. We don't have to get any deeper than that. The key components here, right? Spontaneous, mental thought, right? It's a thought. If we see our best friend and they're upset, right? We want to go comfort them, give them a hug or something, right? Our mind thinks hug. If our mind didn't think hug, ain't no hug happening, right? In fact, if we didn't have any mental actions, we would just, I don't know what we would be doing, just kind of like here, sitting here doing nothing. Why do you not say that mental action is intention? So excellent question. Oh, would I say? Okay. Mental action is not intention. And that's a really good, it's a really like good, like minutia of what we're talking about. And I think that's going to make a little bit more sense when I'm going to talk about like kind of the steps we're going to go through. But that's really important. Thank you for bringing that up. Right. So let's use an example of, I don't know. We're walking down the street and we see somebody who is asking for help, right? Often we might find ourselves in this situation and we'll think, oh, I feel bad. Like I should give them, something. I have enough to give them, right? That happens, right? And our mind is so fast that it sometimes is like there and it's gone, but it happens. It has to, otherwise you could never do any of these actions, right? That's the whole concept of mental action to physical action, right? So we're walking and we see, this person, and we have this kind of instinct of kindness, right? So this is our spontaneous mental thought, our spontaneous mental action to give whatever we are giving, resources, it doesn't matter, but give, right? That's what our mind is telling us, right? Now, does it always turn into a physical action? No. Yeah. And there's a lot of reasons why it might not. Sometimes we start to justify, like, oh, what are they going to do with this money? Yeah, probably spend it on something that's not important. Or sometimes we wait too long. I remember this I have like this vivid memory. I always think about it. Where I was driving home, and I just like stopped and got some food, and then I was at a traffic light on like the highway, and I guess I don't know if highways have traffic lights. It's a busy road with a light. I'm sitting at a light, and there's somebody asking for food, right? And there's a whole line of cars, and like the light turns green, and I'm like thinking like, oh, should I do it? Like I don't want to upset the people behind me, right? And like before I know it, it's too late, right? Everyone's honking, everyone's going. I've missed this opportunity to help somebody, right? So this is an example of I have this spontaneous kind of mental action to help, but I let too much time pass, or I'm ruminating on like the ramifications or exaggerating the ramifications. People are behind me are going to get upset. Or another one is we distract ourselves, intentionally or not, right? So there's a lot of opportunities for this to kind of not turn into a physical action. So that's what I was saying before is we don't have a shortage of spontaneous instincts of kindness, mental actions. We have a shortage of noticing them. and nurturing them, staying with them long enough to allow them to blossom into a beautiful physical action, right? Now, Lucia, intention, I like to think of intention as like a compass, right? So if you're like going in the, I don't know, like you're on a hike or in the woods or something, and you have a compass, I don't even know if people use those anymore, but you are, and you look at your compass, and what does the compass tell you? The compass tells you generally where you're going. Not exactly, you know. It's not saying, "Oh, make a left on Main Street," like your wildly helpful GPS. It's like keeping you on the path, right? And so that's what intention really is. It's a way of keeping us on a path, right? But determining what that path is important. And also, sometimes we can do good physical actions without the best intentions. Let's use the example of the same example of giving somebody resources as you're walking by. They're asking for money or something, right? And this time you're walking with your boss, new boss, just got a new job, right? Going out to lunch or something, I don't know. And you see this person, you have this thought, right? And then what happens? You're like, oh, they'll think I'm my boss. This is good. I'll do this in front of my boss. They'll think I'm a good person. Oh, interesting, right? So now the physical action is, potentially the same, but our intention is totally different, right? So mental action, start, and then intention is in there. We can kind of like decide, we kind of decide like why we're going to do this, right? And then the physical action. Does that make sense? Sorry, I know it's a longer explanation than probably you wanted. But the important part of that still is it starts with this mental action, and from there it can go so many different ways. We want it to go one way, essentially. We want to have the thought, and then we want to, for a good intention, like not expecting thanks, not wanting to be complimented, like to do it, essentially, right? Unconditional help or something like that. Okay, so does that make sense so far? It's like, I know it's not anything revolutionary, but a lot of the stuff that we talk about is not. It's just things that we don't really think about, right? So how can we get better at this? And the way that we can start getting better at this, and by better I mean reaching the finish line of this nice, kind thing more often, is threefold. And you're going to notice something interesting about these steps. They're pretty similar to what we did in meditation, right? So step one is we need to become aware of when we're having these things, right? So this is mindfulness. I mentioned that in our meditation. Mindfulness is an active awareness of your own thoughts, moment to moment, but for a purpose. And that purpose is to be able to respond skillfully to the things that are going on, right? So if we are, not aware of what our mind is doing, we're just kind of like autopiloting, we're not going to catalog these awesome, nice mental actions very often. They're still happening, right? Like that's the interesting thing here, is that it's not making more of them, right? They're happening. It's just that you're not noticing them, right? So that's really where we want to start, is becoming adept at noticing them. And that is practicing mindfulness. We talk a lot about that on this channel. And one of the best ways to get started, if you've never really done any mindful exercises, I think, is to set an alarm on your phone. And when that thing goes off, check in with yourself. Sounds ridiculous, I know. But we don't check in. with our mind. We never do that. And so we have to start to become familiar, there's that word, with doing that. Why? The more familiar we are with doing that, the less we're going to need an alarm. It's just going to kind of happen. We're going to be monitoring our mind. That's mindfulness, right? So, practicing mindfulness techniques, trying to get better at noticing what your mind is up to, that's really the first step. And good news, meditation has that built in, right? What were the instructions? Notice when your mind drifts, bring it back. We're training and noticing, right? So that step is like the same as when we were meditating, right? So then we want to become aware when we are talking ourselves out of pushing this mental action into a physical one, right? And this will come in many different forms. You'll probably find it interesting to think about. Like, I always think about that being at the light. It's like haunting me, because it's such a great example of like, what am I even debating here? Who cares if they honk their horn? Like, the person needs help. Who cares? They'll wait 2 seconds. That should have been my instinct, right? But we're practicing. Me too. And so we have to practice noticing when our mind is like kind of doing that little talk yourself out of thing, right? So justify, maybe we're going to call our friend. We're like, they never call me. Okay, they never call me. Why don't they call me, right? We're justifying why we're not doing it, right? Or, you know what? I'm so tired from work. I'll do it later. And then what happens? I know, we forget, right? Next thing we know, we didn't call them for 2 weeks, right? So these things are happening a lot, and it's totally normal. It doesn't mean we're like bad people. That's just our mind is thinking about a lot of stuff. And so we want to start to practice noticing when our mind is doing this, talking itself out of this really kind, spontaneous mental thought. Good? Again, this is fits in really nicely with what we did in breathing meditation. We're noticing, right? We've noticed, but now we're going to do something about it, right? Like, that's kind of where we're headed, right? We notice that we're, thinking about what we have to do at work. We bring our attention back to our breath. For our instincts of kindness, we notice when we're thinking of like what reasons why we shouldn't just do this, and then we miss that opportunity. We want to bring our attention back to that moment of kindness, right? So it's a little loop, and it's the same loop as meditation, because this is a form of meditation. It might not seem that way, but practicing this is a form of meditation, because all meditation is what? Familiarizing our mind with something. And what we're doing here is we are familiarizing our mind with noticing our instincts of kindness and noticing when we're talking ourselves out of them, and then nurturing them to make sure they're turning into those awesome physical actions to help other people. Right? And it doesn't have to be a big one. Small acts of kindness, is kind of like a buzzy word. But this methodology doesn't have to be something grandiose. Sometimes I think about if I see a piece of trash on the ground, right? Like, I'll be like, oh, I should pick that up and throw it out, right? Then sometimes my mind's like, I didn't throw that down there. Why should I do that, right? Or there's my mind trying to talk me out of this. But really, another type of talking yourself out of is minimalizing the impact, right? So it's just one piece of paper on the ground, who cares, right? But we don't know. I leave this paper, and maybe the person whose job it is to come and, pick up the trash along this park or whatever, now has more work, and now they miss the traffic light that would get them home to see their kid before their kid falls asleep. They haven't, they never get home in time to see their kid fall asleep. Like, so picking up that trash might have actual positive ramifications, that we can't see. We don't know. Best to just do it. Why not? Right? So, cool. So that's a little intro on both the idea of mental actions, how they contribute towards physical ones, and also this idea of instincts of kindness, right? And this is all a great setup for where we're going to go next week. We're going to talk about gratitude and recognizing how important other people are, because then these things are going to start to combine, right? We start to recognize how important other people are, and we naturally want to help them. So it's less effort for us to do these small acts of kindness, etc., right? Less effort for us to monitor and push our mental actions into physical ones. Cool? I know it's a lot of talking. Sorry. Do my best. All right, so we're going to do a meditation now. And it's going to start pretty similar to what we did before. We're going to do some breathing to relax. And then we're going to do a meditation on like giving like loving kindness, it's called sometimes. It doesn't matter what it's called. It's going to be lovely. But it's all about kindness and recognizing our ability to contribute with some mental actions. Cool? Okay. Let's write something quick. All right. So get nice and comfy. Maybe you discovered that hammocks are not good to meditate in for you, and you'd like to change that. Go ahead. Get comfy again. You can close your eyes. And we're going to do another meditation. Be a little longer, but not much. Okay. Every time we start a meditation, take a moment and check in. What's your mind up to? We're not comparing it to before. Before is done. Only now. What is your mind up to? We now know why we're doing this. There's a purpose. We're training in mindfulness. An active awareness of our own thoughts, moment to moment, so we can respond in a skillful manner. So we can recognize our instincts of kindness. And having checked in, you can now turn your attention once again to your breath. Just for a little while, we're going to relax by focusing on our breath as you breathe in and out, very gently and very naturally. And if you find you get distracted, no big deal. We can just say not right now to those thoughts and guide our attention back to breathing in and breathing out, gently, naturally. single-pointedly focused on each moment of each breath. Breathing in and breathing out gently, naturally. We talked a lot today about mental actions and using mindfulness to help us notice when we have these instincts of kindness to help others. All beautiful things. We're now going to do a meditation to help solidify some of those concepts in us, give us some experiential understanding of the things we were talking about. So you just need to follow along. No, nothing else. Just follow along and enjoy. I'd like you to bring to mind a time that you were having a problem, or a time that you were feeling embarrassed, or a time that you were upset. Doesn't matter what it is. Whatever pops into your mind first. Remember how it felt. What your body felt like. Were you tense? Were you worried? Just imagine it. And as you're imagining, bringing to mind that situation, I want you to imagine that every time you breathe out, you are breathing out all of the pain and worry and stress of that situation. Just imagine yourself breathing it out. You can visualize it as like a dark smoke. We are breathing out all of those negative emotions that we felt from that situation. We're breathing out dark smoke. And additionally, when you breathe in, I want you to imagine that you're breathing in like a warmth or a white light. We're breathing in relief, and we're breathing out our problems. All of those feelings we had in that moment, breathing them out as dark smoke, and breathing in happiness as white light. Even though this situation that we recalled, whatever that situation was, even though it feels very unique to us, very personal, there are other people who have experienced that same thing, those same feelings, from the same situation. Maybe you can imagine a good friend of yours having experienced those same feelings. And as you are breathing in the white light, breathing out the dark smoke, you're now doing it for your friend. So every time you breathe out, you're sending all of their worries away, all of those negative feelings they felt away. And as you're breathing in, you are sending them warmth, joy. Just imagine it. And even though your friend and you may have experienced this, there's many more who have felt those feelings too. Bring to mind a group of people feeling those feelings. Can you send them some love, some relief? What about going even larger? Maybe a whole state or country? Could we imagine sending them warmth as we breathe in, sending away hardships as we breathe out? Can we go even larger? Bring to mind the entire earth. Picture it in your mind. Our home, this incredible planet that we're on. Imagine it. Imagine all the people on it. And let's send some love and joy to all those people and to the earth itself. Breathing in white light. Breathing out dark smoke. Breathing in love, happiness, and joy. Breathing out all of our troubles. And if you feel any warmth or sense of purpose, to give kindness, whatever you're feeling. Just sit with it for a little while, enjoy it. Allow your mind and body, everything about you, to just bask in this idea of helping other people. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So there's a lot of different names for this type of meditation, but the goal here is to kind of steep our mind in this idea of helping, of kindness, and using the fact that we feel feelings when they happen to us so potently, right? And then starting to recognize that as brutal as those feelings are in that moment for us, they're just as tough for other people, right? And just as we want relief for ourselves, let's also allow our mind to want relief for other people, right? Cool. So that's our class for today. Thank you for coming. I love teaching, and I couldn't do that without you guys taking time out of your very busy days to be here. So hopefully you found it to be relaxing or thought-provoking or all of the above. If so, come on back. I will be here next week. We're going to be continuing this kind of journey into kindness, and we're going to be focusing on gratitude, recognizing the importance of other people. It's one of my favorite things to teach. So I do encourage you to come. It is, I think, one of the more powerful classes. So that'll be next week. And appreciate anyone who's supporting my YouTube channel. Thank you for anyone who's subscribed during this live stream, or anyone chooses to do so later. Helps me a lot. And benefits to you too, I suppose. You get notifications when I'm going live. You can watch all my old videos. Doesn't cost you anything. So thanks for anyone who chooses to support. And finally, if you're really into meditation and trying to see where it could, how it could benefit you in your life, and you'd like to do some private study, I do offer one-on-one instruction. I do it virtually. It's very laid back. So if that's interesting to you, you can email me and we'll find a time that works. So I'm going to put my email in the chat right now. It is keith@meditationbreaks.com. Breaks.com. Spelling. Thank you. Really, really appreciate all your time. Heather, I'm going to answer your question. Anyone else who wants to drop off, obviously, go ahead. I know I kept you a little late. What if you're kind to someone that really doesn't like you? I'm always trying to be kind to them, but they don't always accept it. Oh, interesting, right? Now, this kind of goes back to what Lucia was talking about with the intention, all right? So, you have this kind of thought in your head to do something for this person, right? And they don't respond in the way that you wanted them to, right? Is that kind of like maybe they don't say thank you or something like that, right? So what is going on there, right? So this is an example of maybe you have to check your intention, right? Is the intention to do this so they acknowledge it, so they recognize it, so they reciprocate it, right? Because now we're layering in some ulterior motives, right? And so is this act of pure intention of good, or is there something we're looking to get out of it, right? So this is a whole nother class. It's a very deep and interesting and introspective thing to think about. And it was one of the more challenging ones for me because we don't like to think about that. We don't like to think we have like an agenda. But it's interesting, even something as like expecting a thank you, right? It's somewhat of an agenda, right? We're doing this thing and they don't say thank you. We're like, what the heck's the matter with you, right? Can we do that without the expectation? It's an interesting thing to think about. It's not necessarily very easy, but that would be what I would not expecting a reciprocation would be what I would like consider to be like a pure act of giving or like of kindness. Right? Cool. Very good question. Very good question, and very difficult, as you said. It is hard, but you can't control what other people do, right? And it's not your job to do that, right? But your actions are meaningful all the same, right? Thank you. That was a really good question. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next time.